the good one, who is up for another episode of Production Hell? Yeah, Drinker put something out about a week and a half ago. A Production Hell video about The Exorcist. How The Exorcist was production hell. And yes, I'm very good at cunnilingus. I mean, I'm a cunning linguist. You're absolutely right. Let's jump into production hell, shall we?
You know, in the course of this series, I've covered projects derailed by all manner of disasters, mishaps, clashing egos, studio interference, and sheer bad luck. But I don't think I've ever encountered a movie where God himself tried to sabotage the thing. Such is the case, though, with The Exorcist, William Friedkin's infamous 1973 horror flick about a pair of priests battling to free a little girl from demonic possession. It's actually kind of funny looking back on the movie now, because I suspect that modern Hollywood would side with the demon. While the film...
It's a joke, but he's not wrong. If this movie came out today, I have little doubt that there actually would be people standing outside the theater with signs proclaiming "Demon Lives Matter." I don't doubt that. He's making it as a joke, but it's fucking scary that I can actually see that happening.
The film itself is a tightly wound nightmare about faith, doubt, redemption, and little girls that look like they just visited the world's worst chiropractor. The real horror was going on behind the camera. And believe me when I say this particular clusterfuck was one of biblical proportions. Injuries and deaths, food poisoning, malfunctioning equipment, budget overruns, fires that destroyed entire sets. The Exorcist was practically a greatest hits tour for every movie-based fuck-up that it's possible to have, to the point where cast and crew genuinely began to believe that the shoot was cursed, and even had...
Drinker may say something about it, but didn't this film, didn't the making of this film, traumatize or give Linda Blair, legit PTSD? That it was so horrible. I vaguely remember seeing an article or something about an interview with Linda Blair, how she said that the creation of this movie, mentally scarred her. He does? Okay, he'll go over it. That stuck out of my head suddenly, and I was like, I remember hearing about that.
To bring an actual priest in for protection. Never has the term production hell been more appropriate than right here. So let us learn about the story of The Exorcist together, shall we?
That part right there. Drinker's probably going to talk about it. This part right here where she's going back and forth like this was a malfunction. When she was screaming for help in the movie, when she was flopping back and forth like this, she was legitimately screaming for help because the mechanism that was supposed to be doing this to her malfunctioned and was just like, yeah, I don't know if she actually broke her back, but came damn close. And it was just yanking her back and forth, in an extremely painful manner and malfunctioned so it wouldn't stop. And so when I believe when she was in the movie screaming for help, it did shatter her T10 and her T10 through T12 or T22. Yeah, when she was screaming, okay, so it did break her bones. Yeah, her screams for help were real because of this malfunction. Yeah, and yeah, I know, I'm sure he'll discuss it. I like to talk about my movie knowledge, so that's why I wanted to talk about it first. I'm being selfish. I am legitimately being selfish, and I wanted to talk about it.
The story begins in 1971 with the release of Peter Blatty's novel of the same name, which was loosely based on a real-life exorcism case from the 1940s. The book struggled to sell until Blatty's controversial appearance on the Dick Cavett show electrified audiences, and pretty soon the novel was a bestseller, and Warner Brothers had picked up the film rights, with Blatty managing to negotiate himself into screenwriting duties. William Friedkin, fresh off the success of The French Connection, was attached to direct, with a modest budget of $5 million allocated for the movie. Casting, however, proved to be tricky. The studio wanted big names like Marlon Brando, Audrey Hepburn, Jack Nicholson, and even Paul Newman, but Friedkin was adamant. He wanted actors, not stars. And he got them. Max von Sydow, a Swedish actor who was only 43 years old at the time, was cast as the elderly Father Merrin and aged up with some of the best prosthetics that I've ever seen. For most of my life,
Yeah. Wow! That's impressive. That legitimately, seeing that transformation, that is legitimately good prosthetics. Wow.
honestly believed that guy had just been fucking old for the past 50 years. The role of the
Yeah.
younger Father Karras initially went to veteran character actor Stacy Keach until Friedkin met with stage actor Jason Miller. Miller himself was Catholic and had even studied to be a priest before having a spiritual crisis, much like his character. After reading the novel, he
Honestly, I don't think Stacy Keach would have been a good pick for this role. They made a good call on this one. I do not think I cannot see Stacy Keach in this role with his voice, because this character is supposed to be a younger, not quite so sure of himself priest, and Stacy Keach, his voice alone wouldn't fit the character. His voice is too deep and resonating, and it wouldn't have had the proper, young, inexperienced, unsure of himself vibe. So that was a good decision, not that Stacy Keach.
before having a spiritual crisis, much like his character. After reading the novel, he flat out told Friedkin, "Karras is me." Pretty soon, he was in and Keach was out. Reagan was a tougher nut to crack though. The film needed a young actress who looked innocent enough to be sympathetic, but who could also pull off some pretty dark and mature scenes. A bunch of potential candidates were tested out, but none of them really fit the bill. Pamela Ferdin was rejected for being too well known at the time. Denise Nickerson was interested but found the material too dark and soon backed out. Even Jamie Lee Curtis was approached, but her mum Janet Leigh took one look at the script and said, "Fuck that, no way." Friedkin was on the verge of conceding defeat and casting an older actress when out of the blue, an unknown 12-year-old named Linda Blair was brought into his office and immediately impressed him with her mature take on the material. A screen test with Ellen Burstyn, her on-screen mother, went so well that Friedkin declared, "There wasn't one other actress I would have considered." With cast and crew finally ready, it was time to get to work. The budget, $5 million. The schedule, 85 days of shooting. Neither of those things would turn out to be true. First came the fire. The massive 3-story McNeil house set built inside a New York warehouse burned to the fucking ground in the middle of the night. The cause? A pigeon flew into a circuit box, shorted the whole thing out, and started an electrical fire that engulfed the building.
Holy shit!
A pigeon did all of that. Not an electrical fault, not arson, not a disgruntled teamster, a bird. Apparently the only set that survived on damage.
So it wasn't God that wanted this movie to end. It was fucking Alfred Hitchcock coming back from the fucking grave going, "I don't fucking think so." The ghost of Alfred Hitchcock said, "Fuck you in your Exorcist movie. I'm the fucking king of horror."
Was Reagan's bedroom, the very room where the demon does his best work. Coincidence?
Wait, hang on, I missed that.
Teamster, a bird. Apparently the only set that survived on damage was Reagan's bedroom, the very room where the demon does his best work. Coincidence? But okay, fine, accidents happen. The set was rebuilt, forcing a 6-week delay, and a brand new sprinkler system was installed, just in case. A sprinkler system that immediately malfunctioned and flooded the entire place, forcing another 2-week delay.
God!
Damn, talk about bad luck, eh? That wasn't the only technical mishap either. Some of the exorcism scenes required sudden temperature drops on set, meaning high-powered air cooler units had to be brought in. Unfortunately, they also malfunctioned during filming, and instead of cold air, they started blasting actual snow onto the set. It wasn't much fun for the actors either. Linda Blair ended up with a lifelong fear of the cold after spending weeks shooting scenes in sub-zero temperatures, wearing just a nightgown. Logistics also turned out to be a bit of a problem. The scenes meant to be shot in Iraq were delayed when half the crew were struck down with dysentery and sunstroke, and the statue of Pazuzu got lost in transit and ended up in Hong Kong instead of Iraq, forcing 2 weeks of delays. Friedkin himself proved to be a difficult director to work with. On the very first day of shooting, he had a wall removed to create space for a dolly to back up from a shot of frying bacon, but he became fixated on the way the meat curled up while it was cooking and couldn't seem to get it just right. One crew member who was off sick for 3 days came back to find him still working on the same scene. It wasn't exactly fucking party time for the actors either. He liked to get genuine reactions from his performers, so he'd do neat little tricks like firing off blank gunshots at random times to keep them scared, or having fake vomit projected right into Jason Miller's face without warning him, or even
Like, this sounds like some Stanley Kubrick shit. Like, literally, this guy sounds like Stanley Kubrick. Because Kubrick kind of did the same thing. He would do take after take after take. It would never be, like, quite right for him. And, like, spending 3 days on bacon? Holy fuck. And then, like, scaring the shit out of the actors to keep them scared for the filming. And like, doing the fake vomit into the... Oh, my God. Yeah, this legit sounds like a Kubrick production right now.
straight up slapping a real priest just before the cameras rolled to shake him up. It wasn't just Friedkin making life miserable for the actors either. A scene where Ellen Burstyn gets yanked backward by a stunt harness and thrown against a wall went badly wrong and jerked her so hard that it fractured her coccyx. And they even decided to keep that take in the film because it was so realistic. She had to be on crutches for the rest of the shoot, and the injury left her in permanent pain for years afterwards.
Oh
Linda
my
Blair
God.
suffered a fractured spine because she wasn't properly strapped into the bed harness while the thing was shaking like a bucking bronco. Again, she was basically forced to work through the injury and was left in chronic pain for the rest of her life. A carpenter sliced his own
Jesus.
thumb off, and another technician
Wait, what?
pain for the rest of her life. A carpenter sliced his own thumb off, and another technician cut his toe off. This was all bad enough,
Jesus.
but then the dying began. First to go was Linda Blair's grandfather, who died in the first week of production. Tragic, I know, but that's what old people
God.
tend to do, so I guess you could overlook that at least. On the other hand, Max von Sydow's brother passed away suddenly on his very first day of shooting, forcing a delay while he travelled back to Sweden to take care of the funeral. The actor
Oh,
Jack
shit.
McGowan contracted the flu and died shortly after completing his scenes. The actress playing Karras' mother also died midway through production. So did the crew member operating the on-set cooling system, who keeled over from a heart attack and died immediately. So did a night watchman who was shot and killed while guarding the set. Damn man, even Jason Miller's son narrowly avoided death when he
God.
got hit by a motorcycle. All this death and destruction was causing two very obvious problems for the studio. The budget was ballooning from an optimistic 5 million to well north of 10, and the shoot, which was supposed to last just 85 days, ended up dragging on for more than 200. To say the movie was unlucky would be a bit of an understatement. To say it was fucking cursed would probably be more accurate. In fact,
One could say possessed. Like maybe a demon possessed this set. Fucking hell. This is one of the worst, like, this is one of the most tragic filmings I think I've ever heard of. Like, so many people just fucking dying trying to make this goddamn movie.
that's exactly what a lot of the cast and crew were starting to believe. Like Satan himself was personally pissed off by this thing and was trying to stop it from getting made. Damn man, I wish he felt this strongly about Star Wars. He could have struck down TLJ with great vengeance and furious anger, and I would have been completely fine with it. The situation
True
got
story.
so bad that Friedkin had to bring in an actual Jesuit priest to bless the set. Multiple times. Father Thomas Birmingham and others performed blessings on several occasions, mostly to calm the nerves of the crew, but whatever they did, it seemed to work. Nothing demonic happened after their work was complete, apparently. Well, almost. When the movie was screened in Rome for the first time, a 400-year-old cross on a church opposite the theatre got struck by lightning and went down in flames.
Shit.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
God.
I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
You just had to get one more jab in, didn't you? Either way, The Exorcist was finally complete and went on wide release in December 1973. And to say that it was a hit really doesn't do the thing justice. When audiences weren't fainting, throwing up, or walking out in disgust, they were queuing around the block in freezing winter weather to experience it for the first time. Everyone was talking.
I never understood that. Now, maybe it's because it was a product of its time and that's what freaked people out. Like, I saw The Exorcist. I actually had the opportunity to see Exorcist when they did like a re-release of it in theaters. Like they did is like, I think I can't remember how long ago it was, but it was like they were doing like a theater near where I lived. They I think it was like near close to Halloween. The theater was doing like a rerun or a re-release of The Exorcist, so you could see it on the big screen as it was meant to be seen. And I went to see it. I was I actually got to see Exorcist for the first time in a theater. And honestly, the most disturbing thing for me was it was like one or two scenes where the sound, like the volume of it was either I think it was one scene was with the music and one scene was with the sound effect. It might have been like a phone ringer or something, and the volume just like shacked to like 11 out of nowhere and scared the shit out of me. But it was like it was an audio jump scare because it was so fucking loud. Like I think when the iconic Exorcist theme first played for the first time, they like I don't know if they did it or if it was just the movie itself, but the volume went to like 11 and just freaked the shit out of me simply because it was so loud. But the rest of the movie, like I was like, ooh, interesting. I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of wild. But I didn't like feel uneasy. I damn sure didn't feel like throwing up. I didn't want to run out of the theater or anything. I was just like, oh wow, okay, I can see why this is I can see why this was such a popular movie. I have not seen the other Exorcist movies. I've seen reviews for them, but I have not actually seen any of the other Exorcist movies.
About it, either to condemn it or praise it. The film went on to make almost 200 million in its
Some of
initial
it was
run,
boring,
with
yes.
another 200 million later in re-releases, well over $1 billion in today's money. Jesus, even Marvel movies don't have that kind of pulling power. And it became the first ever horror movie to be nominated for an Academy Awards. Not bad stuff. But was it really cursed? Was Satan personally trying to stop his own PR film? Or was it just 1970s Hollywood at work? Lax safety protocols, an overambitious director, freezing sets, dodgy wiring, and a bird with a death wish? I'll let you decide. But if you ever find yourself on a horror set and a pigeon starts circling the electrics, get a priest and get the hell out of there. Because sometimes the real devil isn't on screen, it's in the details. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
Holy crap. That was insane. That was like a legit insane production. That left a lot of fucking people scarred for life. Those that actually made it out of there alive. This literally was welcome to the Exorcist set. We hope you survive the experience. For real. Shit.